Hi, everybody. I'm Nick Srnicek. I'm a senior lecturer, actually, in digital economy in the Department of Digital Humanities. Today, I'm going to be looking at gaming the attention economy. So a lot of focus on it. The attention economy has to do with how companies like Facebook, for instance, or TikTok basically try and capture your attention, the sort of addictive qualities that might emerge from social media. I'm going to try and take a slightly different take on the attention economy today. So it's a truism that if you measure something, you create an incentive to optimize for that metric. This can also lead to some sort of perverse results as well. One example has to do with Soviet planning. So one of the sort of intermediate goals set in the Soviet planning system at one point was that factories needed to output a certain tonnage of trucks per year. What did factories do? They responded by producing increasingly heavy trucks, increasingly unwieldy trucks as well. Another really good example of the sort of perverse outcomes of introducing a metric has to do with something like reinforcement learning. So reinforcement learning is all about setting rewards and goals for AI agents. In this case, they've got an AI agent which is trying to race around a track, except they're optimizing for the maximum amount of points. And the AI learned that the best way to get points is to simply drive around in circles rather than finish the race. So again, a sort of perverse outcome. And in an audience of academics, I only need to mention 3 letters, REF, to also get a sense of these sort of perverse outcomes. Now, today on the internet, we've created a whole slew of different metrics, things like metrics around attention, engagement, shares, followers, likes, retweets, whatever. What I want to look at is how this system of metrics creates these sort of unintended consequences and how they might in fact be necessary consequences of the system we've constructed. So early attempts to game the system had to do with search engine optimization. So Google emerges and you want to get attention of people, you optimize your website for search engine. You try to attract the attention of search engine bots. The initial example of this was things like content farms, which were websites with a minimal amount of information, but they were designed to attract that search engine attention. So you might have, invisible text and things like that, and gain ad revenue through doing this. Now, Google quickly cottoned on to this, and in 2013, it eventually changed the way that it sorted search engine results in an effort to try and exclude these sorts of low-quality sites. So content farms effectively disappeared, at least in the form that we knew them during the early internet period. Now, a second round of gaming the system emerged, though, in the mid-2010s rather, particularly as social media started to gain prominence over search engines. So this was the emergence of things like clickbait, and if you were on social media in the 2010s, you probably saw a ton of clickbait. Websites designed simply to present a provocative headline to make you want to click on the website. So more and more publishers started to optimize their content for going viral on social media, rather than optimizing for search engine bots. So they tried to get things like emotional arousal in their stories. They wanted good storytelling, practical usefulness, 10 ways to be more productive, that sort of thing. All these things which are designed, again, for you to click on the website and then get ad revenue for these things. So making things go viral has become a key goal, and this still exists in a lot of different ways, although, again, it's sort of changed to shift from, say, Facebook more towards TikTok and Twitter. But this also interacts not only with metrics around virality, so things like measuring shares, likes, retweets, et cetera, but also the algorithms which try and filter the content that we're presented with. So when Facebook, for instance, changes its newsfeed algorithm, viral content producers have had to change as well. Really good example of this is Upworthy, which was hugely popular in the mid-2010s, and then virtually disappeared when Facebook changed their algorithm. And suddenly the content that website was producing was no longer selected by the newsfeed algorithm nearly as much. So they lost a huge amount of traffic as a result of that. Now, bringing it up to today, we have generative AI. Funny enough, one of the foundational papers for generative AI is called Attention is All You Need, which I think is sort of curious for today's event. But the key thing about generative AI is that it lowers the cost of producing content immensely. So producing an entire website of material is incredibly cheap to do nowadays. And there's already tons of websites that are starting to pop up. Fake content, misleading content, just completely plagiarized content effectively. And again, the idea here is that you're trying to attract ad dollars. So you're trying to attract the attention of people, even for the briefest of moments, in order to be able to bring that ad money in. So what's the sort of takeaway of all of this? Well, I think spam, misinformation, viral junk, a lot of these things which are a huge concern for thinking about the impact of technology on democracy, for instance, I think they're necessary outcomes of an internet ecosystem which is organized around advertising dollars. So if we want to think about ways to try and prevent this sort of stuff, maybe the answer is not so much in technical changes, so spam filters and things like this, but in fact thinking about the political economy of spam as well. So shifts in the materiality of the ad tech system can change the nature of efforts to game them, but also I think to resist them as well. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.